Hey everybody! In this video I'm going to show you how to use some Distress Oxide inks to do layered stamping using our Fleur Impression stamp set from the Greetery. And I used the Distress Oxide inks a lot on my projects for our very first release, and I've had a lot of questions as far as what technique did you use, how did they work for stamping, that sort of thing. So I'm going to show you some techniques that I kind of have learned along the way that work really well for using these inks. These inks are a little bit different than like if you're used to stamping with dye inks. These are more opaque, a little bit thicker ink. They layer a little bit differently than just your normal dye inks, but you can get some really pretty effects because they're more opaque. You can get some different effects with your layered stamps, and so sometimes the colors show up a little bit differently than they might, you know, when you're using dye inks, and so it's kind of fun to play around with. And I will show you, they do have a little bit of a learning curve as far as using them for stamping. I really like them for ink blending, of course. That's what they're kind of known for, but I think they really do work well for stamping. You just have to kind of a little bit of a learning curve, like I said. So I'll be showing you today in the video how to use them along with our Fleur Impression stamp set to get some really pretty ink blending effects within the images themselves. Alright, so let's get started. You can of course use the same techniques that I'm going to show you using less colors and less blending. Alright, to achieve the look that we're going for today with lots of blended color, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to choose two different colors that kind of work well together, and then two shades of each of those colors. And so you can see here I have two shades of pink and I have two shades of yellow or orange. And so you want to choose colors that work well together. Pinks and yellows I think always work well together. You could use blues and greens, you could use reds and purples, pinks and purples. Just choose some colors that blend nicely together. Alright, so, and then of course two shades of each. Alright, so let's get started. I have my MISTI already set up here. I love to use my stamping platform for multi-step images. It just makes it so much easier. I like to die cut a whole pile of things and then just sit and stamp and play with color. And so that's what I did for a lot of my Fleur Impressions projects for a release of that set, because it's just fun to sit and stamp. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with the lighter shade of pink. And I have these little finger sponges, which I just love. I've used those in a couple other videos already too as well. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start sponging this lighter shade of pink onto the top part of the largest flower from the Fleur Impressions set. And I'm going to just go ahead and stamp that. The nice thing about using a stamping platform is it's so very forgiving, and you can stamp things multiple times if you don't get the look you're going for the first time. And then I'm going to take my yellow, which is my lighter shade of the two orange yellow colors, and I'm going to sponge that onto the bottom portion of that flower, and then go ahead and stamp that. Alright, now looking back here, my pink is a little paler than what I really want, and so I'm going to go back and I'm going to do that again. And again, just using a sponge to apply the color rather than doing direct pad to image. We'll be doing some of that a little bit later, but for this softer color, we're just going to sponge it on using the little fingertip sponges. Alright, so that's a little bit better. That's a little more kind of what I was going for. I have a little bit of gaps in that yellow here, so I'm going to do that again. And I'm also going to bring this pink down just a little bit so I don't have such a kind of a defined line between the two colors. I want that to blend. So we're going to bring that pink down a little bit and also fill in with the yellow just a little bit more. Alright, so I'm liking that, so I'm going to move on to the second step of that large flower. And this time I am going to take my ink pad and apply the ink directly to my stamp. And I'm going to start with the pink, and I'm inking the top portion of that flower again to kind of match up with our pink from the first layer. So after I apply some ink directly from the pad to the image, I go back with my finger sponge and then just go ahead and kind of blend out the edges so you don't have a hard line there from your ink pad. And then go ahead and stamp that. And if it doesn't give you as much color as you want, I want a little bit darker there, I can just go ahead and do it again. Okay, I like that. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the yellow. This time I'm still using my lighter shade of the yellow, but I'm going to go in and apply it directly to the image from the pad, but then again blending out those edges. Okay, and then if you want to add even a little more shading, you can go ahead and grab your darker shade. Here I've got my orange, and I'm going to just sponge a little bit, just kind of randomly around that image, and I'll do the same thing with my darker shade of pink to the top pink area. Okay, stamp that. And you can see you're already getting a lot of really nice variation in color, a lot of blending, and it looks just really pretty. Alright, we're going to move on to the third step, and this time, once again, we're going to be using our darker shades. I have the pink, which is, I should have told you the colors, it's Worn Lipstick, and then the lighter shade of pink that I used was Spun Sugar. And I am going to apply this with the sponge, but I might end up doing some direct inking. We'll see once how this turns out. Well, that's pretty good. I think that's actually good. We're going to quit with that. And you can see how you just get a lot of really nice shading, really pretty blending with your colors, and a really good look there. Like I said, it's really fun to play around with different color combinations, so I'm going to do this one more time, and this time I'm going to be using shades of pink or red and purple and blue. And there you go, that one turned out really pretty as well. As you can see, it's really fun to play around with different color combinations. I hope you get a chance to try this and to see it for yourself, and let us know how it turns out. I'd love to see your projects. Link us up in the comments or on the blog, on the Greetery blog. We'd love to see what you're making. Thanks for joining me. This has been Betsy for the Greetery.